It's getting lighter snow. Oh, we'll see.
Yeah?
If she doesn't start, I'll get them little open these.
There's a soup. The turds had on the deck of that shed.
Oh, it's on there. and lightly come a little bit snow. My house is sort of cleanest. They'll do that job. I think that'll do it right.
What do you think of folks who have all the modern conveniences?
Oh well, that's their style of going, I suppose. Maybe when they be close and 90 they'll look my hair better. Oh!
Your tractor's a good design, isn't it?
Oh, aye.
How long has that been going?
The Techner. 62.
And what make is it?
A Dexter. Fords and Dexter. Fords and Dexter.
Is that related to Ford?
Aye. You
Is
see,
it?
there'd been... Well, there were what was Fordston's. Fordston, and then it come out the Fords and Dexter. The first V-type that come out was me Graven, what do you call them?
Fergie.
Fergies. Aye. Well then there were Ford Fergies.
Ah, right.
And then it come out the Fords and Dexter. I don't know what they are now, them big ones.
Just Ford, aren't they?
Eh?
Just Ford, aren't they?
Aye, but will they not be more of an old tractor, just the Ford tractor? Or will the new ones be Fords?
Aye.
Could be.
Do you remember the coronation in Ballymena?
Oh, aye, there were places round about that they burnt fires and things, you know, and maybe a crowd gathered. And there was something in
Murphy.
Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in Murphy.
Youngsters and the ones went to it.
Aye.
But I didn't go.
Crowd gathered up about it. It's gross good master used to talk, but there's all a lot of bunkum.
Why was that? Why did he say that?
Eh?
Why did he say that?
Oh no. When the back well-learned men all sat and argued. And then they were anxious to get televised there in Parliament. So, and them sat and arguing with it.
Did I ask you before about the flochtering spade?
A flochtering spade?
Yes. Did I ask you about that?
No. You
How?
didn't. But there were such a thing. It was a flochtering spade. There were
A flochtering spade.
Oh, there were more in this country used to, he would went through the country and flochted an acre of ground to anybody for British. That's when they were all a setting before they begun to drill them. You see, they flochted so much for where the shock was, and that was turned over onto the green ground, and then they Fritters was dropped across that floor. Fritters, and then where that was flat, that's where you set and put up on the mould up on the top of them. Oh, there were more in that country done a heap of flafting. It made it was sure work. Had they kept an iron, a big leather article on the chest, and that was helped with the flafting.
So that was to turn the soil.
Aye, that heating off was turned over the body upside down, and then the fritters was dropped on that, you see. Of course they drew out manure, you know, out of the madden and put on that then, the width of the rag. And that was mostly poor fritters that went along the rag line. And then that was dug where that flafting come off, and that was put on the top of that. Well, you can see the track of the rags in some of the fields yet, where it was set up. You see, when they were dug down, I showed the wee hole, you know, even when they were dug down. Oh.
Would it be dug in the same place each year?
No. It wasn't dug in the same place every year, because what was that rag the year? If you wanted to put, that was mostly sowed in core the following year. But if you wanted to put fritters on it the following year, what was the top of that rag was the shock the next year. But it was generally sowed out. That field would have been sowed out in corn and in gresset, and maybe lay for 3 or 4 years before it was a labouring again. That was a man that had plenty of lawn. If he had little lawn, it was maybe a labouring in a shorter time. That was the way. Right.
So he must have been a big strong fella to do that flochtering.
Oh, aye. Oh, there were man left here across the us there, across the dikes, and that man went through the country and flochtered great. But you see, there were a boy could have pulled that away, you know. The boy could have went by him and had a bit of rope and that, and when he was flochtering again him a hand, you know, just wasn't starting the whole day in the one man or on that. They couldn't help her in the job. But I ploughed many a time with the horses for rags. And later years after that, ploughed tillwands for the set fritters, you know. You see, they were all setting away, and there were no such things as drilling for a good while.
So how would you set them?
Set them. The setting was the digging the mould and putting up in the, that's what they called setting. Digging the mould up that place that was frosted and put up on the top of the rag. That was the setting job. Oh.
And all by hand?
All by heart.
That must have been a lot of work on a big field.
You needed the spade. It wasn't all done by that one.
What was the most difficult implement to use?
Well, a drill plough was a bit the worst to use. You see, a drill plough running wheels, but if you were opening drills, they were made. They didn't run on wheels. A drill plough. And again, often you know, the drills you wanted them fairly straight, so you wouldn't more bother on that job nor on it. The drill plough running on wheels, you hadn't much bother with. But it used to be they were what they called swing ploughs. There were no wheels in them.
So how would you keep the drill plough straight?
Well, if you kept the horses straight. That was the only way you could keep the drill plough straight. Drive the horses straight as possible. Well, you see, there were some later years got wee what they called markers in the drill plough, and it was just an article that went out over it there, and it run up alongside her, and it made a wee track. And the next you were coming down that track, so you could keep near to the thing. But there were plenty of them. There never were no markers on.
What was the most enjoyable part of it, of working the land?
Oh, I would say ploughing was about the most enjoyable part, because you were travelling along there behind the horses, and you had the howl of the handles of the plough, and you had the same in the opening drills, but only the other work that you were working on, you were just travelling behind that, cultivate or harrow or anything like that. You see, that was just going on behind the horses. You were just travelling on with the reins. But only it was enjoyable working with horses. That, when you were used.
How did you learn?
Eh?
How did you learn?
To work with them. Oh, you just learned when you quit school. There was some job to do with a horse, and you learned that way. You were maybe working at some job with them before ever you quit.
So would you have learnt with your father?
Oh, aye. You learned it was him that was working with the horses to such times as you grew up and quit school. Everyone that quit school was generally starting on to do something with the horses, you know. And that was the way. And then when you started to work with them, generally your father didn't interfere. He was maybe tired enough of them at that.
When did you stop using horses?
Oh well, I stopped using them after I got the tractor. I had 2 horses on here to maybe kept them a couple of years after I got the tractor.
And why was that?
Oh well, after work that I couldn't do with the tractor, I could have done it with the horses. That was the way. Then as soon as you could do everything with a tractor, it was easier sailing or travel.
Were you sorry to see the horses go?
Oh aye. Oh, they were company, you know, working with horses. There's not much company working with an old tractor and you hear the noise.
It's not so pleasant riding the tractor into Ballymena as it is.
Eh?
It's not so pleasant riding the tractor into Ballymena as riding the horse in. Martha, before I forget, can you tell me what's the recipe for the scones you were making on Monday?
The recipe: flour, salt, teaspoonful of salt, and a teaspoonful of soda, and put milk, mix it up. That's for sandwiches, for plain soda bread.
If you wanted to put corns on it, you
No, why, if you
throw a
want to
goat
put
in the lemon.
corns or raisins, you put them on it. And you got sugar on it maybe whiles, you know, if you had raisins on it, or that made it sweeter a wee bit. But if it's plain sort of bread, that was just the three items. Flour, salt, soda, and milk. 4 items.
Tony gave me a picture to show you. I have it outside of the of a pig.
Eh?
A pig, dealing with a pig.
We were killing a pig. Oh, that could be. That's meant to be a good while ago.
That's we Rob and Esther telling it. Was here. 28.
And somebody's...
And who took that photo?
Huh?
Who took the photo?
That was Mary took it. She was
She was home out there.
28.
Aye, but how did,
He got it out of the book there.
eh?
Tony took it.
Oh, well, I have to see it here. Oh, that could be.
There's a fella holding a kettle.
Aye, that's, yeah, you had to have the boiling water to put in the pig to scrape it. Them pigs all had to be scraped by a gully after they were killed. Now, you had what they call a ringing cord. And you went into the house and the pig come forth and you put that ringing cord in its mouth. And it was the ringing cord about that length. And you brought it on out and had a bed of straw or something outside, you see. There was a wee bit of stick went along the end of that ringing cord and you had it in your hand like that. And that pig lay back, you see, all the time. And when that pig was lying back its full weight, a boy drew a hatchet and he felt it. And then it was stuck, the blood was let out. Well, then you took the kettle of water after that, when it was bleeding all, and put on it and the boy scraped it then. They had to be all cleaned up that way.
And why did you scrape it?
Oh, that was a pig, there was so much hair and all on a pig, you see. And a tail on, oh, but they were nice. You never seen anybody shaved as nice as what a pig was when it was dressed up. They were ready for the market. No, they had to be all scraped.
Did you ever put any animals on the train?
Eh?
Did you ever put any animals on the train to go to market?
No. Never no animals went in the train. You put them on a lorry to go to the market. Transport lorry would have come and left them there if you wanted them to go. But they never on I don't think they were on went by train like only for late. Maybe once it was going away if they were taken to the station, they were putting wagons and... You see, the train done many a job, but it brought the lime to Moorfield there. For up there, for Larne. Kilwachter. No.
What did you go to do in Larne?
Oh, you went to the market and looked around it.
Maybe done shopping.
Went away to the shore. Maybe went down onto the sea.
What, sea bathing?
Right?
Sea bathing.
Oh no, you wash your feet in sea water.
Well, sure,
Your hands.
you know where the Island McGee.
Huh?
You went to Island McGee, sure.
Oh, I went at the time to Island McGee. When I was very wee then, Mommy took me.
How many of you went?
Oh, it was just that I went with Mommy at the first, and then me and Sissy went. And Leslie Conner, a girl who lived beside us.
What sort of things would you be looking for on the market?
Oh, just, we were looking for one that we bought. We Oh, well, then she's for a boy, it was only for looking around to see what all was about it.
Well, but you see, there were a marketplace in Larnford by the shops. There were a place where they would have went and they sold everything. They had a market, the same in Ballymena there yet, sure. There's a place there near the swimming pool, I think, where they gather up on Saturdays, and it's a kind of market.
What would you have been wearing when you all went to market? Would you all have dressed up?
Oh, a frock.
Yeah.
A long frock though?
Eh?
Long, down to the ground or short?
No, no. They never wore them down to the ground here.
Oh, I mind when I was a lumping when they wore them very low. Especially the old women wore them. They were just sliding along the ground there.
Did you go with the animals to the market in Ballymena?
Well, whilst why, if you were taking them to Ballymena or Ballyclare, you went with them. But I sold, mostly in my time, I would have sold a heap of them at home. There were dealers who would have come round there, but I took some of them I took some to Ballymena and I took some to Ballyclare. And I took them to that place that's closed. There's a place closed there now, Martinston. I suppose there's a dealer over near you there. Bought a heap of them at Martinston.
What can you remember of the market when you were a boy?
Oh, well, you know, it was just, it used to be, they just all went into what they called the fair hall. And the base was all in it, and you kept a man kept his maybe on round the wall there, and then another man had his up round the wall, and they were all nearly round. Maybe they were when them starting in the middle of the hall, you see. They were just that way, and then there were these men that was dealing, was down there and about, and among them buying the. Well, then later on, you see, they got kind of pens where they went on all round the paint them and that. I got, well, then that was nearly all done away with. It was changed over there at Ballymena all day. It was all the fat base. It was a selling in there, grading them, and but when the fat base started, you see, you had the men that they went down on their turn there, and the man that graded, you see, that way, and then if they were graded, you see. They went on into what you called the ring and went round, and there were these boys buying the fat basin there. They had to be graded first when they were. I would think it'd be the same about Belfast there yet nearly, I would think. I think they'd be grading them there likely yet. Ballymena's done away with it, it's all built over.
So you never drove them down to Ballymena?
Aye, on their feet. Oh, aye. There were. And there were plenty of them drive. And the Larn line there, you go down onto it, there were plenty. They were nearly all a driving then. You could have went to an eating house, and then when you come out of that, you could have went to a public house if you had a notion of going there, or you could have went there first and then went to the eating house.
Or just went to the public house and not to the eating house at all?
Oh, but you could have went to the public house first and then went to the eating house. If you're that way inclined.
Do you remember where you would have gone as when you were a boy? Where?
Oh, for me. Aye, there were a woman they called Marcus, Mrs. Marcus, and mostly went there and got tea and Or you go to dinner if you like. Plate of beef. But then later on there were a woman went down to the country that they called Mrs. Sloan. And she had an eating house on there in William Street. Oh, there were plenty of eating houses.
Which day was that? Which day of the week?
Oh, that was on a Saturday. I suppose you would say it was the end of the week. Oh, the markets was all on Saturday unless the fair day for horses. That was on a Friday, the last Friday of the month was the fair day for horses.
Did you ever go to that?
Oh, regular. Regular went to the horse fair while it showed horses on it.
Horses for sale?
Horses for sale. Oh, that's what the fair was. It was. They went there with the horses to sell them or buy them. Some went to buy and some went to sell.
Were those fair days very busy?
Oh, the fair days were real busy days. Oh, they were a big, very big fair. They were a yearly fair. You see, for boy, that was a very big fair. That was on the 21st of October, yearly fair. And that was a big day of horse. See, there were a time of year, them that was rearing fools took them there for sale. At the later end, when they were going to spend them, you see, if the mother that after selling the fools, they took them in there and sold them in there. And that was a big day for them fools was to helter in there. They maybe never were in for hell, you see, that, and they had to be heltered in there. Learn up to lead.
Did you ever ride the horse down to the fair?
Oh, I rode a horse into the fair and home again. Oh, and there were plenty of them. That was the way plenty of them was took on. They were red in.
What type of horse would that be?
Oh, it would be a horse for about 14 and a half. They were run about 14 and a half, maybe to about 15 and a half, up to 16 hounds. That was about the class of horses that went in there. Of course, you got smaller ones.
So if you rode a horse in, why would you ride it home again?
Well, if you didn't sell it, wasn't it a handy way of coming home?
You'd breed the horses here, would you?
Oh, why? You reared horses? Oh, why? They were only amount to reared the foals, you know, and had them and took them into Ballymena Fair there. But the horses now is not the same, you know, they're all nearly blood horses at that time. Them was horses for agriculture work, it was, in them days, it was showing. But now it's more for the saddle and bridle now. I suppose you never interested in a horse.
Oh, I was put on a horse when I was very small.
Oh, you were?
But only saddle and bridle type. What was it like riding one of those down to Ballymena?
Eh?
What was it like riding one down to Ballymena? Did you ride it bareback?
Oh, whilst later on then they were saddled. Whilst you had the saddle. But then maybe you take a young one on there and that was laid on, and then if you get tired on the road coming home, you maybe tried to ride it